How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Dead Jester Productions podcast. I'm your host, Josh, for J Moskers, back once again for episode number 195, closing in on 200. Special guest this week is Nick from the Phoenix Press, creator of Screecher. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. I'm excited. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself? What is you got going on over there?
So I'm an independent comic book creator located in Metro Detroit, Michigan. And like you said, I have the comic book Screecher. I do a couple other things, but we're just going to focus on Screecher for right now. And it's a tale of like a young woman who is forced to come back to her hometown of Ann Arbor, Michigan, 7 years away. Her father being jailed for a crime he did not commit. And now she was forced to become the winged avenger Screecher in order to attempt to try and clear his name.
Awesome. I was going to ask you what if you lay out the premise, but you already did. How did
Sorry, I got like this spiel I do. It's kind of automatic.
No, it's good. That's actually perfect. It makes it a lot easier. What led to the premise? Like, how did you come up with the premise for this?
Well, basically, it's kind of like the real genesis of it was my first comic book turned samurai is kind of a more mature rated manga inspired tale, and I had a lot of people at conventions be like, "We love your book, but we're buying for our child here, like our daughter or our son, and your book literally says mature audience on it," which fair play. And so I decided I wanted to create a book that's more all ages, and so I went back to my youth, and I kind of like you had a lot of like cartoons in like the 90s, 2000s where they're appropriate for kids, but adults could enjoy them as well. Stuff like Batman series, Gargoyles, and then like in the 2000s you had like Teen Titans, shows that are still beloved to this day by adult audiences, but they're still like very much kid friendly. And so I kind of wanted to like evoke that kind of like late 90s, early 2000s sensibilities, because it's kind of something that I like, because obviously I'm in the indie scene and I haven't really seen that from a lot of my fellow indies. So like I figured I'd be kind of the first one to do that, or at least one of the early ones anyway.
Nice. Has the rise of like Marvel in the last 15-ish years, not quite, had an impact on like your creative process of like, oh, this is sort of, the beats that like a lot of the Marvel storylines are going for? Have you had to like avoid specific like plot points and things like that with your writing?
I wouldn't necessarily say as much. I wouldn't as much say avoid, more so aware. Like, aware that like these are the tropes. Like some people look for it. Like for example, if you don't have Superman without his cape, people are gonna comment, "Where's his cape?"
Yeah.
Or like, "Oh, where's Mary Jane? Where's Gwen Stacy?" Like there's certain sometimes tropes you need them, and sometimes you got to avoid them. So like that's why I'd say it's like you're just more aware of kind of where things are going, like what people like and what people don't.
Yeah, because I was never huge on like the Marvel movies, at least. I mean, I grew up reading a lot of like the various Spider-Man comic books. There was never a point in my time where I read like an entire series from like start to finish. I would literally go, this is years ago. My grandfather would pick me up from school and we'd go over to town. He would stop at the bank and we'd go to this little convenience store so we could buy a newspaper. And we'd go in and they'd have comics on the rack, and I would just pull off random like Spider-Man, Batman comics, stuff like that. So I have like all these really odds and ends comics that I would get into as a kid.
Right.
But I never got into like the movie side of a lot of them. But I always found comics to be way more interesting because it seemed more. I don't know. Something about the art style and everything like that was a lot more alluring than a lot of what was going on screen. Did that have any impact? Like, did you have a background in that as far as like specific influences that got you into superheroes or just comics in general, maybe?
Well, yeah, as far as I say, like I've always been more of a DC guy, to be fully honest. Like, I mean, just looking at the comic, you can just tell, like, okay, yeah, this person was a fan of Batman. I don't even try to hide my influences. I mean, it's a wide variety of things. Like Screecher is combinations like Batman, Moon Knight, Dove, Raven, kind of thing. But yeah, I always love kind of harking back to the moments. Like, I mean, heck, If you look at just the first page of Screecher #2, like that whole sequence is basically an homage to Batman Begins. You know, like that the sequence, like the bats are nocturnal, scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually trying to find the specific one. It's an older Batman comic, and it was darker. Like I like the darker, grittier aspects of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the older ones. Um,
Yeah,
it
they're great.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned trying to make something slightly more for more ages as opposed to uh just like adult themed or anything like that. How do you
Mm-hmm.
find like that middle ground? Like how do you like find your way into that lane without feeling like you're hampering yourself or kind of reining yourself in?
Well, for me, one of the things that I always kind of keep in mind is if you look at like the special features for all of these shows, the one thing that all of them say is they didn't talk down to kids,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's kind of something that really kind of differentiates these kind of cartoons. The ones that didn't talk down to kids and the ones that did, there's kind of a certain prestige to the ones that didn't, and it just kind of it feels better, really. And so that's kind of where I was, where it's like I wanted to tackle these themes. I
Hmm.
wanted to respect the reader's intelligence. So like I didn't talk down and try to simplify it. I mean, yeah, there is some like censoring going on, like instead of hell, I say heck, and
Hmm.
keep the violence to a minimum and that kind of thing. But beyond that, the story really is uncompromised.
Hmm. For I know you mentioned like avoiding the violence. The I forget which, I get confused with all the I forget which one it was called, but the Danny DeVito movie with where he's the penguin, they changed the blood
Batman
to
and
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they changed the
Batman
blood to like a
Returns.
black ooze. Black Batman Returns. Okay, there,
Like
yeah.
I would argue, like for me, like
Mhm.
having a human being cough up black ooze, that looks more disturbing
Yeah.
than red blood, because like I bleed, and when I bleed,
Yeah.
I red blood. So like when I see him coughing up blood, it looks grotesque, but like, hey, that's red blood. Okay, he's human. But when he's
Yeah.
coughing up that ooze, it's like, is that thing even human?
Yeah, I was it is creepier, I think. But the point I was asking was like have you tried anything in that regard, sort of, where instead of there being blood you use like some sort of alternative,
Oh, I
not
go full
necessarily
Mortal Kombat and go like, oh, it's not blood, it's sweat.
okay, yeah, I was trying to see like a workaround. So the reason I mention it is because like it's no, I don't see it all the time, but there are instances where it gets goofy. Like if you try and make it PG ish in certain like uh settings where it's like okay, they're just punching each other, but it has no impact because there's no like damage being done. Like think of like famous movie star like The Rock, Vin Diesel. Like these are
Oh
guys I think
yeah.
in their contracts they're not allowed to lose fights. I'm pretty sure. And so like every time they're in an action scene together, they come out of it and they're not even dirty. And so like
I know I know for me, one of the scenes that kind of got me was like Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, where you had sword fights and like they clang,
yes,
but
I
there was
remember that.
never any stabbing, there was never any slashing. It
Yeah.
was almost like they were sparring. Like I remember when the White Witch faced Peter, and like it just felt so lazy and just like they weren't even trying. It's like, wait, isn't this a fight to the death, like a fight for the kingdom or
Yeah.
something? Like I'm kind of confused here.
Well, it's even like in Star Wars, their lightsabers somehow never like dismember people, even though their lightsabers cutting through like steel walls and stuff like that.
I
It's
know, like lightsabers, one of the excuses they use is that when a lightsaber chops off an arm, it instantly cauterizes the wound.
yeah,
That I can buy that. Like that is
yeah,
fine because a lightsaber is supposed to be like super
for
hot.
sure.
So like it's so hot that it both cuts it like butter and cauterizes. Like okay, I
Hmm.
don't know if that's actually true, but it seems plausible enough that like all right, I'll allow it.
It makes sense within the lore. In my mind, though, it's just weird how they're slashing at stormtroopers or whatever, and like they fall down without a mark on them, which I always found to be
Yeah.
like the strangest thing. It just everything about those movies to me was always like so clean, and I feel like that's what takes away from some stuff sometimes. Like I don't need everything to be a gore fest. I mean, don't get me wrong,
No.
but like I like it when there's like some grittiness to it to show that, yeah, it's dirty. Not everything like people are fighting. This isn't clean, you know,
Yeah, and
stuff like
war
that.
isn't clean, you know. Like
Exactly.
that's why like I actually liked Star Wars,
Mm,
because they had this concept called the used future, where everything was all grimy and like
I
it's
see.
like it
Yeah.
looks like it's a ship that's 50 years old. It looks like it's 50 years old, like the Millennium Falcon. That
Yeah.
that thing is a Chevy Bel Air in a Tesla world, and it's somehow competing. But you like it makes like it's a Bel Air hot rod going up against Teslas.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I've been playing the game Starfield a lot lately. Whenever I get a chance, and that's how it
You and
feels
so
like.
many other people.
Yeah, I played it a bit when it first came out, and then I went on vacation, and so like all of my work piled up while I was gone. So I came back, went into my real job, did my side stuff, and it's like the Dead Joe's Productions and everything. I was like, oh my god, I have so much extra work. So finally, the last like day or so, I was able to dive into a bit more, and a lot of like that was one of the things I've been trying to do more in that game was the shipbuilding and like customizing of like living spaces, and just making it
Hmm.
feel lived in and kind of like worn down, and it
Yeah.
it just adds to the atmosphere in a lot of those cases. You're absolutely right about Star Wars in that regard, where not to call like the Millennium Falcon like junky, but I think you know what I mean, where it's just like this is something that's been scrapped together dozens and dozens of times. It's not a brand new sleek, extravagant ship. This is a smuggler's, beat up ship that's been through 100, you know fights in space and crash landed or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, also, in your defense, Luke literally
Mhm.
calls it like a piece of junk. So
I just imagine there's gonna be that like one guy out there that hears this and is like, he's typing out the message like this son of a. It's like, God
yeah,
damn.
yeah. It's so it's like you don't have to turn far for those.
Yeah, we'd had the similar since on the show. I think it was a couple times I did it where I just really talk smack on the Wheel of Time show, which is on
Oh
Amazon
dear
Prime, I think.
God! Like, see, I'm like a huge Wheel of Time fan of the books. I tried. I honestly tried to watch the show. I
Mhm.
think I got like a third of the way into like the first episode where I was like, nope, nope. Like honestly, like the first 30 seconds, I should have tuned out. Because like this is the problem. I'm sorry, you're kind of triggering a rant here.
Oh, you're
This
good.
is the problem I
This is what I
have
do.
with this is the problem I have with like so many shows, like The Witcher,
Mhm.
Castlevania, where lore is an obstacle to them. Where it's like they blatantly change the lore, like, oh, and that's black now. If you don't like it, you're racist, and all that kind of crap. And it's
Mhm.
I don't care. Like if you do a race change and it makes sense, sure, fair play. Like the Batman did it, Daredevil, like fine. But these guys do it, but like they use these things as shields, and I'm just like, just no. It's like you're a bad writer and you're trying to make excuses. Just please stop.
Yeah, like one of the things I mentioned at the time, and I didn't have a problem like with the diversity on it. It was it was the fact that like I mentioned it then too, where every single member of every family was a different race. And I was like, it doesn't make sense. Like you can't have like the mom be Asian, the dad be black, the kid be white, and the other kid be like
I mean,
Hispanic.
at
Like it
some point, somebody's got to start asking questions.
like it I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. It
Well,
needs to make sense within the the
if we're
family
talking about
unit.
Wheel of Time, if you allow to make a lore argument, here's the
Mhm.
thing. So if we're talking about the Two Rivers was an isolated region of the world, okay? And that
Mhm.
was actually a story point. The old blood ran strong in the Two Rivers. Like the Two Rivers was so friggin' white that someone like Randall Thor, who in anywhere else would be just considered Caucasian, but because he had a different ethnicity, I mean, we all know he was an Aiel, because he had the red hair and probably slightly darker skin, more like an olive complexion, maybe. He's like desert
Yeah.
kind of people, um, because, um, because he like because like he's like half Andorran, half Aiel,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But like because he was like slightly darker, he stood out like a sore thumb. But later on, and it became a plot point later on in the books when refugees from like Ebu Dar and like all different places came to the two rivers, and it was a story beat of like, oh, the architecture is changing. There's different different type of women walking around, different type of people, and like that was a cool plot point. It's like you had this isolationist community suddenly having diversity and them learning to deal with it. Like that's actually a cool storyline. But
Yeah.
because you have them diverse from, sorry, you're getting me going. I'm kind of winding myself up, to be fair. But because you have like this diversity from the get go, you rob us of that great storyline of people learning to deal with differences. People learning to deal with the stuff. Because like the world isn't sunshine and rainbows, and we all kind of learn to need to get along.
Yeah. We sat through the entirety of that for season 1. Season
You
2
have
came
better
out.
will than I will.
Yeah.
I just like my thing is
I,
if I don't like something, I just don't talk about it. I just avoid it.
I'm making a point to watch the entire thing, especially if I don't like something, because then at least if I get into an argument about it, I have information to use. And it's been too
I
long.
don't believe in.
I don't remember all the
I
plot
mean,
points, but
we can chalk this up to a difference of opinion, but like I don't believe in hate watching because like my thing is like a lot of these shows cater to the
I
hate watchers, and I
yeah.
refuse to give them any money, any of
No,
my whatever.
I definitely agree with you. The only reason I watched the entirety of season 1 was because I didn't want to watch 3 episodes, especially since it was something I knew nothing about going into it. So I said I
Mm.
don't want to watch like the first 3 episodes and then be like, this is bad, giving up on it, because I
Well,
knew
I have the
it
benefit of
would
like
come back
I've read
on.
the entire series,
Yeah,
and
see, I haven't. Yeah.
I know it really well. So like even if I haven't seen it, I can literally just like look at a frame, be like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. This person died 3 books ago. Like
Yeah.
I think the like I think the point where I stopped was when Perrin, who I don't like that they made him black. I don't like that. It was just because like the ancestry thing, but like he went to his house and he had a wife already, and that was
Mm.
where I ticked off because Fail is an amazing character that he meets earlier, and god dang well they're gonna bring in Fail because like she is just too good of a character for them not to have. So that they're gonna kill off this wife in the stupidest way possible. So it's like, why should I even bother caring about this woman? Like, you're trying to set up this plot point. Well, like, my family died, but like, I know it's gonna happen. So like, why should I care? I will say one good thing about the show. From what I did watch of it, one thing I did like is I liked how they did the wisdom test. The test to become like a part of a woman in a circle where like they threw him into a
Mm.
river. I did like that because I felt like that was a really honestly genius way of setting up Sidar.
Mm.
Because the whole thing, because there's two halves to the one power, Sidar and Sidine, and the way you interact with them is the same. Is not the same, but it's different. Sorry. And the woman's half, Sidar, the way that a woman controls Sidar is she embraces Sidar and she has to guide it. It's a raging river. The more you try and fight the river, the more it fights back. The only way to navigate is to give in and just let it just guide it, but ultimately floating down the river. I thought that it was kind of genius, to put it this way, because I knew they were setting it up to where she was learning it. They flash back to that scene. So like I thought that was a really good way of doing that. So I'm going to give them, because that is not in the books, but like as an addition, it is actually I dare I will say genius. So I will give them points for that. That was a good addition. But literally they ruined the show in the first 30 seconds when you had Moiraine basically like, oh, these men and their 100 companions, they broke the world. Can I curse?
Oh yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Bitch, men saved the world. Lewis Aaron and his 100 companions went and sealed the bore. You want to know who started the War of the Shadow? Fucking Lanfear. When she drilled into the bore, she's the one who unleashed Tanya. Sorry. My fanboy was coming out.
I
Oh my
appreciate
god,
it.
sorry. I gotta dial it back.
The thing I did enjoy about the show, which is stuff I picked on. There's a
Yeah.
part where there are like they're traveling to a city. You're
Hmm.
much more in depth of the lore than I am. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have no valuable information to apply
I
to
mean,
this.
if you can kind of just give me more information, I could probably tell you like exactly what point in the novel is
It
and
has
kind of
nothing
tell
to do
you.
with the actual plot. To be fair, they're traveling to some city, and they're all like dirtied and roughed up from traveling. And then it cuts away, and then it says like 3 months later, and it comes back, and you can't tell that anything else has happened in between because they're still dirty and roughed up. They look exactly the same, and like stuff like it's just editing stuff, which I found to be kind of entertaining. I was like, that it was unnecessary. You didn't need to tell me 3 months had passed. They
Like
would be
literally,
fine.
you could have done that by just like what growing out their beards, their clothes are
Something,
raggedy.
yeah. It's just
Like
funny because
it doesn't need to be 3 months. It could just be like literally they could be
yeah,
like clean shaven or like have very low beards, and all of a
mhm,
sudden you like the sun sets and whatnot, and
yeah,
it's like sometime later and like their beards are like on the floor, they're a lot
exactly.
dirtier. You can tell like okay a large amount of time has passed. You
Yeah,
know,
and
like
then
this
they
just
get there, and then they could clean themselves up, shave, whatever, and you just pick up the information. All right, time has passed, but it's just hilarious because the way they did it, you can't if they didn't say 3 months later, you would have no idea any time has passed at all. There's
yeah,
that,
that's
and then I
just
love
bad
when she
production.
says, the I'm gonna butcher this. The wheel wheels what the wheel wills,
Yeah,
and just,
that's a pretty common phrase.
yeah, that's what I was told as well.
Basically, what she's saying is it is what it is. That's
Yeah, it's
basically
just
what it means.
the way she delivers it is was hilarious to me. I don't know why. It's just deadpan, very serious, and I was like, okay. I was like, if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. Um,
Well, the thing about Aes Sedai is like they have a very particular way of acting.
mm,
Um, like they're supposed to like be emotionless,
yeah,
and
okay.
like there's kind of like the Aes Sedai they don't lie, but at the
Hmm.
same time they choose their words very carefully. It's
Hmm.
like the truth the Aes Sedai tell you isn't the truth that you'd expect. You
It's
know,
like
like for example, like
omitting
lie by
portions of truth.
omission, careful words. Like I
Yeah.
never said you could. I never said I wouldn't do it. I just said I consider not doing it.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, that's very simplified, but like that.
It's like having Dracula at your door, and he wants to come in. He's like, "Can I come in?" You're like, "I would appreciate it if I had space to myself." You're just working away around inviting him in. But yeah,
Yeah, it's hilarious.
jeez. We had that, and then Rings of Power was another one we watched because that came out. I forget if that didn't come out exactly the same time. That came out later, I
that
think.
show I'm like I'm not like okay. So
I
I like the
maintain
Peter
that
Jackson.
visually it looks amazing, but story wise, it's not.
I don't know because like I've seen pictures where it's like they show the armor and they compare
Mm,
it to the Tolkien films, and it just looks embarrassing.
mm. That's true. I don't know. I didn't hate the way a lot of it depends on the characters, I suppose. I
Yeah,
Everything is
and I
way
don't have
too
as much
shiny
horse in the
at
race.
times.
I don't have as much of a horse in race in this
Yeah.
as the other one. Like Wheel of Time is like my favorite series of all time. So it's like I'm gonna be more passionate about that. But the Rings of Power, it's like I like the
Yeah.
Tolkien films. I liked them. Like they're some of my favorite films of all time. But beyond that, I'm like, you know, I don't care about it as much as like you know.
Yeah. I just got bored with it. Because that was the ones they released the first 3 episodes of it all on the first day. The first 2 or 3, I forget how it was. And they just try and rope people in like, oh yeah, this is just setting the stage. And then they set the stage for the remaining like 4 out of the 6 episodes. It's like, all right, if anything could happen, that'd be ideal. Some of the lines that in that were abysmal. There's a point where she goes, "There's a tempest in me," and the line itself is terrible, but then the way she delivers it is also not great. Uh, but yeah, that was another show where I was like, "Ooh, gonna go ahead and skip season 2 as well." Because like you were saying earlier, like I do not hate watch. I will give a show, the time it deserves. Like I will watch a full season, or I'll watch like the first movie in a series, whatever. and I'll give it like a fair chance. But if I don't like it or if I think it's bad, I'm not going to revisit it because, like you said, like a lot of these shows exist to like based on hate watching. Like that's what happened with was it just called Velma? Like the Scooby Doo?
Yeah, Velva was designed to like
Yeah,
trigger people to hate watching. That was
exactly.
designed.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
know,
that was the thing. That not so much
like
She-Hulk, but I think a lot of people hate watched like She-Hulk as well.
She-Hulk. I think wasn't like I think that they accidentally made it a hate watch
Mm.
baiting show. I think it was kind of like it was so bad they just kind of leaned into it.
Well, I think
Problem
a
with
lot of
She-Hulk,
people
there's a
probably
couple
hate
different
watched it
problems.
too because it's a female lead. I think there's a lot of people that do that. Where like, oh, look how bad this is. You know, they make it a female. Like people are gonna do that because people are idiots at times too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's as many like these monster like rabid bad fans that people like hate him not to be. Like there's the one thing like one phrase that I always
Ooh, I think you're muted. I think. What has happened here?
I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
Okay.
Um, but like the thing that I really don't like is no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, and
Mm,
I every time somebody says that, I get angry because it's like that totally like that is just a total cop out phrase, you know. And I just like Star Wars fans are passionate, like that it goes without question. Is it do they get too passionate? Yes, obviously, you know. But you got to realize the reason why a lot of this stuff gets to such a fervent reaction is these people love like
mm,
when you're a fan of something, you love something, you love it with so much of yourself. And you got to realize this love goes back decades.
yeah.
Like how many times like how many times have you heard stories where it's like I was in a really bad place. My dad beat my mom, and the only thing that could get me out of it was watching Teen Titans. And it's like I'm kind of that was probably not the best way of putting it, but like you hear these stories all the time, and these are legit. You know,
Yeah.
like these people. For some of these people, the only reason they're halfway decent human beings is because these characters, because these stories were there for them when they needed them the most, and that is ultimately the whole entire point of fiction, is to be there for people. It is a
It's
support.
an
It is
escape.
an escape.
Yeah.
Escape, yes. And when you have these people, when these escapes literally save their lives sometimes, like you have people, it's like, oh, I watched Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. That gave me the strength to leave my abusive ex or something. Like, yeah, you hear these stories, and that's great. It is great that fiction can give the people the power to actually stand up for themselves, you
Mhm.
know? Um, but the problem is when the fiction is so important to these people, it's integral to them. And when you desecrate them, like they do, like because these people, like Velma,
Yeah.
Minnie Kaling doesn't give a shit about Velma. She doesn't give a fuck.
Well, you can tell
Obviously
by
not.
watching the show, apparently.
Yeah. And so when she desecrates it like that, people are gonna have a reaction. It's natural, and instead of like mocking these people, instead of like calling them toxic, whatever,
Mhm.
which honestly that is just gasoline on an already raging fire. You're making a situation worse by doing
That's
that
what
kind
they
of
did
stuff.
with
Stop it.
Ghostbusters as well, with the
Well,
like all female one.
Ghostbusters, yeah, they stroked that fire hard, and then when they got burnt,
They
they cried
insulted the
cried a river.
audience before it even came out.
They
I don't know if
literally
they said something
told
after.
old school Ghostbusters fans, don't come see the movie. We don't want you here. This is not your movie. And then when they didn't, and we said, okay, fine, we won't. Like, why didn't you come see the movie, you
Mhm.
racist, sexist, blah, blah, blah? You know, it's the same, like, and Disney Star Wars kind of does the same thing as well, where it's like, if you disagree with us, you're blah, whatever.
Mhm.
Does some criticisms get overboard? Yes. Do some people take this stuff too far? Yes.
There
Does
was
that
a
does that
not to the same
Sorry, go ahead.
scale, but there was a small like bit of that with Black Panther when that came out. At least
Yeah,
in
like very
my
small because
side of
like
the internet. Yeah, I'm not saying it was a
yeah.
big thing, but like for if you disliked Black Panther, some people were like, "Oh, you're racist" because you didn't like it.
Well, here's
And
here's a difference
it
between
wasn't a
stuff
huge
something.
thing by any means, but
Well, there's a reason why Black Panther made $1 billion, and other films didn't. Because like the way I see Black Panther is a movie that celebrates both Africa, African Americans, and their culture. And it was a
Mhm.
party that everyone was invited to. That's how I saw it. Like, hey, we're celebrating these people. Everyone come. Let's all celebrate together. That's how I see Black Panther. And it's a
Yeah.
decent enough movie. Like I have some issues with it, but it's a decent enough movie, and you can see why it made $1 billion. You know, um, and I wish more movies were marketed like Black Panther. But like all the other ones, they're just like on most other movies are just marketed off of division, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it like I said, that was one of the ones we watched that with my little brother. Actually, it wasn't my favorite, but I didn't hate
It's
it
it's
by
a
any
decent
means.
it's a
It
decent
is,
movie. Like Black
it is
Panther is
what
a
it is.
decent movie.
Yeah.
Like especially compared to like other Marvel fare,
Mm.
it's actually pretty enjoyable. Like it's a popcorn flick. It's enjoyable, But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people are very tribal over stuff, especially with the like way social media works, where
yeah.
you're either with them, like you love what they love, or you're quote unquote. I'm going to make this word. I'm not saying people say this, but you're like evil, where it's like how
Oh
could you not like this?
yeah, and it's on both sides. It's literally a
Mm.
both sides thing.
Yeah.
Um, and as a person who I feel like I'm kind of in the center, politically, um, it's just hard because like I see both sides of it, and I try to be open. Like for example, not all the MCU shows are bad. Like I legitimately love Hawkeye, and Loki is fine. Like I watched Loki season 2, episode 1, and it was fine. I liked it. I enjoyed it. The atmosphere, the set design is amazing. Um, you know, and like my biggest problem with Mandalorian season 3 was that they called it the Mandalorian. I don't like how Bo Katan pretty much upstaged the show. If this was literally called Bo Katan, I would have had no problem with it.
Hmm.
I would have like they could have not changed a single thing,
Didn't
and
they
I would
do
have
that
had no.
with Boba Fett, where they made the Mandalorian like the lead in it for a couple episodes, essentially?
Oh, you mean the best part of the show?
I've not seen it. I'm just going off of what I've saw, what I've like heard
Yeah,
and seen
yeah,
in reviews.
they literally did that for like an episode or two, and then Din was kind of a supporting character for the finale. It literally
Uh,
became the Mandalorian for like an episode. And, like, yeah, it was good content. But yeah, oh my god, the Book of Boba Fett is such a crap show.
I think that's the problem with like these universes with the Marvel movies and Marvel Cinematic Universe, like the Star Wars universe, where you have these characters that are super popular, and so you want to fit them in as much as possible, for marketing reasons and to get people
Mm-hmm.
invested. But then because you're trying to fit them in, a lot of times they end up upstaging characters in their own,
Or
right.
like you have a character that's a fan favorite and you shove them in there, then you kill them right away. Like how they had Cad Bane in live action, only to literally freaking kill him off. Like, why would you do that? Why would you bring in Cad Bane only to
'Cause
kill him off?
it's sort of like Captain America Civil War, right? Like that is not a Captain America movie, completely. Like there's so many parts of that where it's just not about Captain America specifically. It's an Avengers movie essentially, right?
Yeah, like literally, you like honestly, like that movie is like 2 script rewrites away from becoming a Captain America movie. Like I could legitimately see a Captain America movie where it's um, like the like Zemo stages an attack to basically get Cap to go against Black Panther and
Mhm.
Bucky's in the middle. Like that actually kind of sounds like a good movie.
Yeah, but yeah, it's weird because like I said, they're trying to fit in all the characters they can in order to bring in the largest audience possible. But then eventually it just it essentially takes away from the supposed lead in the film because you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
focus on all these other side characters as well.
Yeah, that's the
It's
problem I have with like a lot of these movies, especially like these like multiverse movies, where it's like,
Mhm.
how many Easter eggs can we cram on camera at once? Across the Spider Verse was fine. Like I really enjoyed the first movie. The second one was okay, mostly because of momentum from the first one, and it's like I like the Gwen Miles dynamic, um, and like I like Miles's character arc in those movies, um, but like just the cameos, I don't know, it just feels
It
soulless.
does feel like they're just trying to see how many Easter eggs they can throw in, as opposed to just focusing on the story sometimes. Not saying it's a
Yeah,
bad storyline or
see,
anything,
like
but like,
that's what I liked about Into the Spider Verse, the first movie. Is yeah, it
mm,
was multiverse, but there was really only five spider characters, and in reality, it was only three characters that really mattered. Like the
mm,
three characters that mattered were like Peter B. Parker, Miles, and Gwen. You know, Noir and Penny and Ham were just kind of there and supporting
uh-huh.
characters. And you know what? That's fine. You know, I feel like the movie was honestly better for it by focusing on those three and then having the other three just kind of there. I feel like it actually made the movie better.
Because I see a lot of videos about, like, I like watching a lot of videos where it's like, oh, here's things you missed in this movie or whatever.
Yeah,
And
those are interesting.
they had some come out where it was for like the Mario movie, the Into the Spider Verse, and the Across the Spider Verse, and just a lot of the Marvel movies and things like that. And these videos end up being like 25, 30 minutes long, and like, oh, here's all these Easter eggs. It's like, good grief. Like, are they, are these films designed just to have Easter eggs in them in order to like potentially do like other spin-offs for other films and shows and things like that,
I
especially in
mean,
like the Marvel ones?
I actually don't mind like different references or stuff like, oh hey, look, there's a poster in the background of a character. Oh hey,
Oh, not,
look,
yeah, no, no,
this
no.
person had a this person was wearing a brooch that was a reference to this. Like those are kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm
Like
not
in
minding that.
Westworld,
I just mean like,
like in Westworld, when they made him like when they made a character leader of the tribe, he was wearing a pin that was like Hand of the King for Game of Thrones. Like, okay, cool, you know, that's a cool reference, you know, whatever.
yeah, no, I was referring to like characters where it's like, oh, this person they're talking to, you know, that this is the name that they call her. This is actually this, you know, character who goes on to become a superhero, and they have those people like kind of littered throughout every movie. Then, where it's just constantly like trying to introduce side
Yeah,
characters,
like for
hoping they take off.
example, like you know, if like you're watching Man of Steel or Snyderverse, whatever. Like, oh,
Mhm.
like did you know her jumpsuit said Ferris on it? She was Colonel Ferris, so Green Lantern, you know,
Yeah,
or like oh there's a guy who's gonna like who's the name of the guy for the Atom, you know, like that kind of stuff where it's like they lay it in there and it's like
they're just trying to give an excuse to make like a spin-off show. Like, oh, did you like this character? Well, that now we have reason to make a whole series about him or a whole movie about him. And it's like, all right,
like
you know.
like an example of an Easter egg I thought was cool was in Winter Soldier where they're talking about the algorithm, like oh blah 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 Doctor Strange, you know, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like okay, sure. Like well, first off, from an in your universe, he's a surgeon. He's a high class surgeon. It's like there you could it makes sense within universe that they'd be
Mhm.
monitoring him.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's just a one off hand thing, and he's saying it. He's not really calling attention to it. It's like, okay, that's a fair Easter egg, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, especially if they know they're already setting up for that. I just, in my mind, like I said, I don't have all the experience because I have not watched all the Marvel content.
I
But
think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, to
like I said,
where
like, I,
if they're setting up for something and they pay it off, then that's
mm,
cool. Like, I mean, to be fair, I really don't like how they retconned Iron Man 2 to where, oh, that boy in the Iron Man suit, that's actually Peter Parker. Like, that is like the stupidest thing ever. You know, like, that was never intended to be like that. They never intended that.
yeah.
Like, and plus, it adds literally nothing to either of those characters. They don't reference it in universe. You know, so it's like, what's the point of even making that canon? Like, what is the point?
uh, yeah, because like I said, like with Hawkeye, you know, you have the Hawkeye show, and then I have not seen it. It's not his daughter, right? It's a separate character.
It's a
The
separate character.
okay.
Yeah, because like the thing is, Kate Bishop in the comics, from what I understand, and I could be totally wrong about this, but like just the way I've kind of like been told about her, is she's very kind of like a abrasive, like I'm better than you kind of person.
Mm,
Um, but like in Hawkeye, like Haley Steinfeld just plays her amazingly. She's kind of like this like very like oh my gosh it's Hawkeye, I'm such a big fan, and like she has to earn like she doesn't try and upstage him, you know,
yeah.
but like she's a fan, and I think they played that off brilliantly, you know.
I'm gonna say that I could be completely wrong about this. Like I said, I haven't not seen it. It seems to me like they wanted to make a show for Hawkeye to help advance his character and give him some, you know, some well deserved context, since he's kind of been on the back burner for a lot of the movies at times.
Yeah.
They try to do that while also working on introducing her, because they're doing a Marvels show, like the Marvels, I think, right? She's going to be in, or show or
Well,
movie.
the Marvels, I think you're kind of mixing your things up, because the Marvels is kind of like
Wrong.
Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Photon. That's a movie that's coming out soon.
Okay, because I thought she was going to be. I thought she was in like a spin-off movie or show as well.
I mean, like, outlets have been speculating that they do a Young Avengers at some point, but that is like total fan whatever.
Okay. Yeah, because like stuff like Ms. Marvel is the show with the girl in it, right? I get it so confused at this point because there's so many, and I'm not as keyed in.
And that's really a problem. That is legitimately a problem for Disney. And I'm just gonna say this,
especially with two characters named Marvel.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say this. I actually enjoyed Ms. Marvel. Like, I watched it, I actually enjoyed it. I thought the actress did an amazing job. Like, the characters are great, the whole family, the show itself was beautiful to look at. I don't like that they kind of made her a mutant. I thought that was kind of stupid. And like, oh, she's the first mutant in the MCU. It's like, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver. Like, because you know that, like, once mutants started coming into the MCU, they're just like, oh yeah, Wanda's a mutant. Whatever.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not as clued in with a lot of the Marvel stuff because I've never been huge into the Marvel movies, but it does seem like so many of the stuff. I've mentioned it tons of times on the show before, so I'm sure people are sick of hearing it. There's a lot of cases where it seems like they're just putting out shows just to get the plot from A to B without caring about whether or not the show is good. It's just they're using these as stepping stones to set up other things. And so everything is just a stepping stone from major film to major film. And it's part of why I have a hard time getting into the Marvel MCU, just because it's like everything seems like it's a throwaway just to set up the next big thing. Plus, I don't want to have, hundreds of hours worth of homework to watch to understand what's going on in the major films.
Yeah, that's going to be a really big problem for Marvel going forward, because it used to be like, okay, there's 20 Marvel films you got to watch, but those are movies. It's like, yeah, okay, I can watch those over a few weeks, like, like, fine, I can catch up. But now they have TV shows. Like the amount of content is just going up by like a factor of 5 at least.
Yeah, I don't know. It's again, I bet if I was really interested in superhero, like the Marvel stuff, I'd be all excited because there's so much content. But I don't know. I don't have that problem with the DC stuff. I've not watched a ton of the DC stuff either. I know you said you were more of a DC fan anyway.
DC's my thing.
I was never a huge fan of the Zack Snyder films. Man of Steel, I enjoyed. Batman versus Superman, I watched. To put it nicely. I didn't hate it as much as other people did, but I didn't think it was great either.
I mean, this is probably going to be an issue we're going to agree to disagree on, because like I'm a huge fan of the Snyder stuff, but your opinion is just as valid as mine, so it's whatever.
I did not watch the Justice League. Was it over 4 hours? The Snyder cut.
Yeah, I mean they did break it into like 8 parts, so like you can do that if you want to. But like I don't blame you for not wanting to watch that, because like you said it's 4 hours. Yeah. So like honestly, I don't blame you.
And then you have the I forget which one's the original. Suicide Squad, I guess, is the first one. Then the Suicide Squad is the follow up, I think.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the second one. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. The first one, I think it's partially my own fault for laying down in bed in the dark while trying to watch it late at night. I think I fell asleep like 3 or 4 times trying to watch the first Suicide Squad movie. So I don't know. It might have been a combination of the film and then myself. Probably more on me. But second one, I thoroughly enjoyed. We'll see how James Gunn approaches the. What did they call it now? It's just the DCU or DCEU.
I don't frigging know. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, but like I don't know. Like I'm gonna give like James Gunn a chance, but like I don't know.
I like Matt Reeves Batman. Thought that was super good.
Oh, yeah, that was really good. I enjoyed it. Like I'm actually kind of excited for the sequel, kind of excited where they can take it, you know, like what villains or whatever. I did
Mhm.
enjoy the Matt Reeves one. That was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in an interesting spot too because they had uh oh my god, I'm blanking. What is the Dwayne Johnson
Black Adam.
film? Black Adam. Thank you. Yeah, that was a weird spot because like going into that, everyone knew that that had no effect. Like they were resetting the universe after that, right? Or maybe am I thinking of something different? The Flash, maybe. I
Oh
forget
yeah,
which one
oh
was
yeah,
supposed to be
yeah,
canon.
the Flashpoint movie.
Yeah. So like a lot of these it's like, oh, this isn't canon, so why would we watch this? I feel like that's a problem some of these studios are going to run into too if they keep up these universes and they try and reset stuff at some point. It's like, well, why would I watch that? That has not it's not it doesn't matter to the plot anymore. Sort of
See, that was
situation.
like one of the stupidest things that James Gunn did. Like, announced like, oh, we're gonna do a full reboot, and he had like
Mhm.
4 movies right about that were going to be coming out within the next year and a half. Basically, just
Yeah.
like, oh, well, no point in watching these movies then.
I mean, it's fine if he does that. I would just say don't announce that before your films come out. Like you're actively like sabotaging the, the income for a lot of these movies. Was Blue
Yeah,
Beetle? Is that DC as well? I think.
yeah. Blue Beetle basically killed itself with its first trailer, and when they ended it with like, oh, Batman's a fascist, and I'm like, why the did you just do that? Like, like at very least just put it in the film, but like to literally like I swear someone at the market be like, okay, how do we kill this movie? Okay, we have this clip, let's put it in the most observant place possible because like you have because like the end singer, like literally that's the most important part of the trailer. It's like you have the
Hmm.
title and then you have your stinger. You know, that is the last thing people think of.
Yeah.
You literally ended it with that. That was deliberate. Like I swear that is deliberate. They're deliberately trying to kill that movie. You know.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any others I missed that were like essentially written out of the universe due to the reboot. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I'm happy he's leaving alone the Matt Reeves Batman because I was concerned that he was gonna like remove that with the new universe. So I'm happy that's gonna keep going because that I really enjoyed the first one. It's nice, dark, gritty.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, there's the mute button. Thankfully, almost over this cold. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy he left that alone. They have the Joker Folie Ladu, I think is what the second one's called.
that's gonna be my big criticism for the Batman. Like, why the frick did you bring in the Joker? Like, come on, man. And like, why did you tease him like that? Like, I don't want to see the
It's
Joker in this universe.
it is interesting. Like I don't understand like what the process because I think they're making the second one like a musical as well with
Oh yeah, that's the Joker. That's a whole different universe.
yeah. It's very strange. Yeah, I don't know what
It's
they're.
like the Matt Reeves universe.
Mhm.
Um, like I like what they did with the Riddler. I think that's totally on point. Like it's a very different version of the Riddler, but like
Yeah.
it's still within the spirit of the character. I could totally see like
Mhm.
it makes sense for a Riddler. Like that's totally on point.
Can you imagine if they had
Um,
Jim Carrey as the Riddler in that movie though? That'd be such a like a
oh,
weird like that it would be so out of place.
but you know what?
Oh.
Knowing Jim Carrey as an actor, it
Hmm.
would maybe be a different performance, but I think he could pull it off. Like if you've
Yeah.
seen Jim Carrey in some of his more serious
Oh,
stuff,
I'm sure he could actually act well in it and like play a serious version of it. I think it would be very odd. I'm sure somebody has done it where they've edited in the goofy Jim Carrey Riddler into the Matt Reeves Batman. Like
oh
the
dear God.
contrast between Robert Pattinson's Batman and Jim Carrey's Riddler would be insane.
Yeah, like have you seen the edits where it's like they do like multiverse stuff where they have like Robert Pattinson's version talking like to like Grant Gustin's Flash and like different things.
They had Adam. I
It's
saw somebody edited Adam West Batman into that movie, where it's like
why?
him carrying around like a goofy, like oversized cartoon bomb, and I forget exactly what happens. But yeah, they added Adam West into Matt Reeves Batman.
Oh
Like
God.
it's like a trailer for it, essentially, not the full movie. But yeah, it was kind of funny. Um,
Oh yeah, I bet.
yeah, I don't know. we'll see what they do with them, but it is
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of
intense.
interesting because um, like I have some theories about where the Batman could go. Like, I do think they are kind of leading up to Court of Owls. I
Mm.
think like Court of Owls would work great in the Matt Reeves universe. Some other story beats, I think possibly the second movie will be about Hush. Also, I think that little kid from the funeral is going to become Robin. These are just my theories. Like I could be wrong, but these are just kind of like my personal theories.
And kid, I don't know who you're referring to actually. Kid at the
Okay,
funeral.
so the you know the guy that got killed in the beginning?
Hmm.
I think it's like the mayor or
Oh, okay.
something.
I looked it up. I know who you're talking about now.
His like it's just the look he gave Bruce,
Yeah.
like and plus like his parents got killed, like it just feels like that is like a kind of a quintessential Robin story. So I feel
Hmm.
like they're kind of setting that up. Like, yeah, Hush would be
Yeah.
an
I
interesting
forgot
villain
this
for the second.
particular part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hush or Two Face would be really good villains for the second movie.
Hmm.
And then like and having them work like have the ending reveal be the Court of Owls. Like it's revealed that they're working for the Court of Owls. Like I just think that would be a really good setup for a third movie.
I hope they do like different villains as opposed to the Joker again. You know, I like the Jokers that they had, but it
Yeah, because
seemed
like remember,
really
Batman
overdone.
Begins, their first villain was a Scarecrow, and that was
Mhm.
great. I know
Yeah, it's
obviously
cool.
they had Rachel
Different
Gould.
character. Yeah.
Um, but like I think doing the Riddler for the first movie was great. I think they did that great. But like
Hmm.
I think Hush would be cool. Like I really like part of me for a while there I was like Mr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze. But now that
Hmm.
I've kind of like thought about it, I don't think Mr. Freeze would work in that universe because like the cold gun, like you need like more realistic base villains. You know what would be crazy? The Mad Hatter in the Reeves one because like you'd have to really jury rig it, but you could make that work in the Reeves universe.
I guess so. Yeah. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Two Face can work in that universe. I don't think Poison Ivy could because of her plant control kind of thing, but like,
It'd be a bit weird.
yeah, I'm running through a list of like Batman villains in my head to see like who
Yeah,
they
you
could
almost,
do.
especially in that universe, you almost want to see how they handle it, like non superpowers. You know, like people without superpowers.
Yeah, like Two Face. Two Face would be
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. Yeah.
We need a proper Two Face adaptation. They've had two chances to do Two
Mhm.
Face, and they struck out both times.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be.
Okay, I need to the rant a little bit. So like Batman Forever, you had Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face, and it's
Mhm.
like his introductory scene. God damn, that was cool. Like the way he played the Two Face, luck, blind, stupid, doodah luck. Like a more serious, like insane Two Face. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones could do that. Like that is his bread and butter. But like Tommy Lee Jones was just like doing like a miniature Jim Carrey, and it just for one it just didn't work, and also that wasn't Two Face. Like it just if you had Tommy Lee Jones playing a more serious, like insane, like kind of Two Face, he
Hmm.
could do it. He could do it. Like that is his bread and butter. Like I said, and and like that first scene kind of gave you a glimpse of what it could have been, but it's just, I love that shot where it's like you just have him like in his normal face, and then once he's like blind, stupid, and like the camera pans and like you see the other face, like, oh, that's some good cinematography.
Yeah. Like I said, it'd be interesting. Like Two Face would be good because he has no like superpowers. They could do Scarecrow again, but I don't know. It might be too soon considering they just did it in the Nolan ones. But
Yeah,
I
plus
don't know.
also Scarecrow was like even though like he was big in the first movie, but he was also a part of the second and third movies. It's like he
Yeah.
appeared.
He's.
Um,
I'm trying to remember. I know he was in the second one where he's like Batman, like they're like vigilantes essentially or whatever.
yeah,
I'm
and like it's not
trying
like
to remember
Scarecrow
what
is,
else.
is like an unknown villain because Scarecrow was a big part of the Arkham games. So like people know about Scarecrow. Like
Mhm.
and plus he's just got a really cool like his gimmick is like the fear gas, fear toxin, and like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Like he's a really cool villain. Like he is a really great villain to write, I'd imagine. Like if I were to do a Batman story, I actually probably might make it a Scarecrow story.
Hmm. It'd be cool, especially with like I don't know. They could do like the more horror side of it as well, since he's Scarecrow. It
Yeah,
it
Scarecrow
is
would work.
interesting. Yeah,
And then
scrolling
like
through
if
a
you do
list here of
the fear toxin would allow you to do some more fantastical sequences. To be honest.
yeah. I was scrolling through a list of like Batman films without superpowers, see what the options are, and this list is ridiculous. Like a lot of these are not who I would consider Batman villains. Uh, you got Lex Luthor, you
Lex
know,
Luthor is not a Batman villain.
yeah. Uh, you got Ra's al Ghul, who is Batman. Mysterio, who was a Spider-Man villain. Kingpin, isn't Kingpin more of a Daredevil villain?
Uh,
Yeah,
okay,
they should.
Kingpin is both a Spider. Kingpin is a Spider-Man and a Daredevil villain.
I didn't know how
He,
often he
he
appeared in Spider-Man. I'm not as familiar with
well,
Daredevil
he
though.
was he well he appeared a lot in the early Spider-Man, and then Frank Miller stole him in the '80s, and made him a Daredevil villain. Like Kingpin
Okay.
is actually part of like the Spider-Man video game. Kingpin is a major part of that one. So like yes, Kingpin is a Daredevil villain, but he's also a Spider-Man villain.
Hmm. They also have a Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
You mean Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Sorry, I grew up with the British version, so they call them Hero Turtles.
As
Yeah,
soon as you said hero, it's like, all right, well, this one British.
yeah. Got that. Deathstroke. Got Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Trying to
Well,
see
the
how
problem
you.
with Deathstroke is under certain some continuities, he has like a superhero soldier serum in him, so he's kind of like an evil like Captain America kind of thing, but like DC
Mhm.
villain.
I
Deathstroke's a
got
great villain, by the way.
Two Face, Red Hood. Well, they'd have to go through like a whole Robin storyline for Red Hood, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because the thing with Red Hood is he was a former Robin, get killed by
Mm-hmm.
the Joker, then he gets survived, and then yeah, it's a really good story. Like I love the whole backstory. But basically, Red Hood is he's more of an anti-hero. Like he's basically DC's Punisher.
Yeah, interesting. So you got like that one would be hard to do. Craven the Hunter. It's more of a Spider-Man one, I thought. Black Mask,
Yeah,
not as familiar.
Black Mask is a DC villain. He's pretty much kind of like a he's basically kind of like a Kingpin type, where
Okay.
he's like more orders other people around to do stuff.
Mm-hmm. Vulture. Vulture would be really weird in the Matt Reeves Batman.
Well, also Vulture is a Marvel villain, so
I don't know what they're doing with this list.
yeah, because like this list has a lot of Marvel characters on it, so
uh,
yeah,
Interesting. Oh well. Yeah, we'll see what they come up with. Um,
yeah, I'm sure
speaking
it'll be good.
Okay, speaking of villains, I want to get back on topic of your comment. How do you come up with a good villain in your storyline? Because a lot of people will come up with a villain that's like over the top. Sometimes they come in more of like a gray area to keep them sort of muted, so you can kind of see their point of view, but you realize that they're still wrong. Like, how do you fall in that? Like, how do you? What is your thought process on
Well,
antagonists? I guess we'll say.
a good villain is always kind of a foil for the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Like a good villain, kind of like a good villain is always everything the hero is not.
Yeah.
So like kind of bring this back for Screecher. I have my on the ground villain of Shiva, and she was kind of designed to be an inverse of Screecher, both in design and personality. So you got Owl as Screecher, and then Shiva as a tiger. But like
Mm-hmm.
Shiva is also like Shiva Screecher has a cape, Shiva doesn't. Um, and then like, but also a lot of it comes from the character. So like the character of that Shiva is was like a big kind of like otaku like Chinese file. So like I made her outfit more like ninja based kind of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
like I gave her a rope dart, mostly out of like Mortal Kombat love for that thing. It's also like the rope dart is I find to be a very visually interesting weapon. Like the arcs it makes, the poses people do for it. I think it's a very interesting weapon on the printed page, and so that's why I gave her that weapon. So basically, kind of to summarize, for me, it's a lot of comes from the character, and there's also incidental things, but it's a process really where you kind of build things up.
Nice. one of the other things I was going to ask about is like how you come into like your art style that you want to work with, because an art style can have a big effect on like how characters and scenes are portrayed. I was
Agreed.
curious, like I was curious about how you decide upon that.
Well, seeing as how I'm the writer and I work with the artist, there's a lot of back and forth. Usually, I'll gather reference material, which that includes like pictures of like either movies or comics. Kind of see like, hey, I kind of want a combination of this look, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's some trial and error. We kind of sometimes it may take us an issue or two to really dial it in. But it's really the process. I know for Screecher, I was really trying to do like a late '90s, early 2000s comic book look. In particular, stuff like Nightwing from the late '90s, and they got like the Young Justice in the late '90s, and then little bits of like Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men
Hmm.
kind of thing, like that very much kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of reference material involved, and back and forth.
Is there ever a point where you're like double, like second guessing yourself maybe, or like coming, you're trying to view it from the perspective of like the reader as opposed to what it is you're actually like from your point of view? Like, do you ever second guess yourself in
So,
that regard?
sometimes, yeah, like I always try to like go on the thing of like one person making a complaint is one thing.
Hmm.
Like you can ignore it, not ignore it at your leisure. But if you have like 10, 20, 30 people making a complaint and they're all kind of the same thing,
Hmm.
like one person say, I don't think the suit should be red.
Hmm.
You could write it off if you want to, or you could change it. But if you have 30 people saying, I don't like the suit being red, then you should probably change it, because when you have multiple people saying like similar things or the exact same thing, then that's a pretty clear indication that yeah, you have a problem and you need to fix it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, 'cause like I said,
Yes, basically what I'm saying is, if you got one or two people, use your best judgment. But if you got like a bunch of people, fix it.
fair enough. Have you ever? Is there a scenario in which like you can see yourself like, oh, I'm gonna retcon this because it makes more sense based on a recommendation or like based on a development I've come up with as a result of the plot I've written out?
Somewhat like
Okay.
I will kind of give you an example, and this is an exclusive for you. So right now, what I'm considering is, so right now, Avery has brown hair. All right,
Mhm.
and I was kind of thinking, maybe she should have red hair. Um, well, because I love my redheads, and I think it would actually make for a more visually interesting look. So what I'm thinking about doing, and this is not something that I'd say I am going to do, just for the people who might want to take this out of context. Um, I am considering in the second volume of Screecher, basically constructing a scenario to where she's got to sneak somewhere, so she gets a haircut and a dye. So she gets a
Mhm.
new haircut and she dyes her hair red, and you get dialogue like a temporary dye or something. He's like, okay, you can wash it off. He's like, you know what? I think I might keep this. I like it. And then from
Yeah.
there on, she has red hair. I mean that's a
Yeah.
simple enough change because it's just a dye
Yeah.
job. But it's like you said, like an aspect of the character where it's like, oh, she has brown hair. I want her to have red hair. So thus,
Mhm.
I construct a scenario to where she can have red hair.
Yeah, because I can see that, not with what you're working on, but like in just in general, like you'll see or artists, authors write themselves into a corner, and they have to kind of retroactively go back and be like, oh, well, this actually meant this, and so now it works properly.
Yeah,
I think they did that with like Game of Thrones a little bit as well. There's
yeah,
some there's some lines where the Red Witch talks to Arya about like the color of eyes that she'll close and things like that, and then they go back and like, oh, clearly she meant she was talking about the Night King and this and that. In reality, in the time, it's like nobody knew this was going to be the case. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Like,
Stuff like
I'm
that.
sorry, like the worst line ever is, I think Daenerys actually forgot about
Oh
the
God, yeah.
Ironborn fleet. I mean, to be fair, There are so
This is
many
my
things
wheel of
we
time. You had your moment earlier with the wheel of time. Mine is Game of Thrones, is ranting about how that show ended. As someone
go
was,
for it.
oh, and I'll abstain this time. People have heard me. There's been whole episodes where I've ranted about this, but I maintain that they did a good job adapting the books, for when they had the source material, because it is too confusing almost for like TV to have all of those side characters and everything going on. I think they did a good job, keeping some of the characters out, kind of combining some of them to have it more streamlined and make sense for a wider audience. But oh my God, it just, what a train wreck. What a train wreck
I
of an
mean,
ending.
the problem with Game of Thrones is basically like, well, it's multiple things really, but like, the big thing was, uh, the show needed more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
HBO
They
wanted to
offered them
do more
as
seasons,
much as they wanted.
and not only that, but like, the actors' contracts were up, and they would have wanted more money.
Yeah.
HBO was willing to pay that money. They would have paid the leads $1 million an episode if that's what it took. Like they were
Mm-hmm.
willing to do up to 10 seasons, you know. But
Yeah.
but you know, but D&D were like, we want Star Wars money. We
Yeah.
end show,
That's the thing.
And,
It's selfish from them for two reasons. One, because they wanted to do Star Wars, but then also for not wanting anyone else to have credit for working on Game of Thrones. And so they ended it rather than hand it off to someone else to finish up.
because here's the thing. I think at deep down they know they're kind of like. Here's the thing about D&D. When they were adapting George's work, they
Mhm.
were like, to be fair, like George was also like on in the writers' room. Like
Yeah.
that is like best television ever.
That's what I'm saying. They did a great job adapting it. It's when they
And
rushed
like
it to try and get out of it as quick as they could that they
and they
butchered it.
even like added some stuff that was really good, like the stuff with
Mhm.
Arya and Tywin. That's
Yeah,
great stuff. That was not in the books, but
sure.
that is
Yeah.
really cool content that they
Mhm.
added, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Like it totally worked within those characters, and it added like a humanized Tywin, which I'm a big Tywin fan, by the way, and like I really liked it. Like it almost kind of makes you imagine like an alternate scenario where like he finds out, and instead of killing her, they actually grow to like each other or something.
Mhm.
Like imagine if like Arya was Tywin's daughter, and like he like I don't know, like because Tywin respects intelligence. Because look at the way
Mhm.
he treats Olenna like an equal. Like you notice
Yeah.
how he treats her like an authentic equal. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like very like he treats like he treats Olenna like no like very few other people do. Like he recognizes just how formidable Olenna Tyrell is. Like, and he respects her as an equal. It's not like a hate. He's like, yeah, we're opposite houses, but I recognize you're intelligent. I recognize you're
Exactly.
crafty. So like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna underestimate you. But I respect, like, he respects intelligence,
Mhm.
and like, and it's very obvious he married Joanna because he was as intelligent and as crafty
Mhm.
as he is. And if he had a daughter like Arya, I don't think he would force her into like the princess role. Like obviously, you'd have to marry, but
Yeah.
he would nurture her intelligence. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah, it's just the way they changed her to just be, oh, Arya kill people now, sort of like they dumbed her down towards the end as well. Like the whole the line where she says, "Oh, be careful! I know a killer when I see one," is such a joke. Or it's like,
Also, they
I should burn
really
the city
like
down.
the way like they pretty much wrote, like they really wrote Baelish into a corner.
Hmm.
Like, oh my god, like it's like Baelish became an idiot.
Yeah,
Really, like he like the Baelish of like the early seasons would have never, like, honestly, what Baelish should have done is just get the, like, as soon as the things are secure, just go back
mhm,
to the Vale. Just go
yeah,
go back to the Vale, brother.
yeah. Oh man, this is a mess. So I also maintain the when the city's being burnt to the ground, instead of showing Arya in that role, they should have had Davos. He's what people are way more invested in, like his well being, especially since Arya's storyline is sort of concluded, right? Like everyone she's
Yeah.
wanted to kill is essentially dead. I don't know if Cersei was dead yet at that point.
And
And,
like the way they massacred Jamie, like they were giving
yeah,
him a great arc, and
yeah,
it's like he knighted Brienne. That was a great scene, and they bumped uglies. Okay,
mhm.
cool. And then they just threw it all away. Why?
They didn't even have to do like he's. They could have just had him go back with John and the rest of them to the city to take it. He could have seen the castle collapsing and decided, "Oh, I need to save my sister." And they could have had like a very similar ending for him at least. But instead, it's like we're gonna throw away his arc just to have him die here. Like they wouldn't have had to change much for him, I don't think, in order to still have it be like quote unquote satisfying. You know what I mean?
Like I think Clegane Bowl, like okay, yeah, we got Clegane Bowl. It was
Mhm.
great. I got no complaints there. Like that was great, and the way that Sandor died, awesome.
Yeah.
Like I think yeah, perfect.
Hmm.
Like bringing Gendry back, I don't mind that. Like that was cool. Like we needed a satisfying ending. Um, the way they made him head of House Baratheon was a bit clunky, but it could have been worse.
Hmm.
Um, Theon, I don't know. Like his story arc, I don't mind it.
It seemed very
Like
abrupt of an ending for him.
yeah, but at the same time, what are you
That is
gonna
fair.
do?
Yeah.
Like what? Like what? Like he died saving the Starks. I think if he was gonna die, that was fair
Yeah.
enough. You know. And I
Bran
think
told him he was a
even
good man, so
like
he felt
he's
redeemed.
like it's like he saved his sister. He saved
Hmm.
his honor. He saved his honor. Like here's the thing about Theon. He regained his honor both as an Ironborn and a Stark. Like
Hmm.
he did both. Like he had he gained the respect as an Ironborn. He is like he really accomplished what John told him to. That he is
Yeah.
both a Stark and an Ironborn. He lived as an Ironborn, but he died as a Stark. You know,
Hmm.
um, and it's like with Yara, like when she sent him to Winterfell, I feel like you could see it in her eyes. She
Hmm.
was sending her brother to death, like she knew it.
Yeah.
But I think she knew like yeah, this is something you have to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
I actually didn't mind Yara. I thought she was a good character.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's like I don't know because like when I see Yara, she reminds me a lot of like what of my sister. So like
Mhm.
that's maybe why I'm a little bit biased. Like she's kind of a bitch, but like she still cares. And it's like there's that one time where where like she says to Theon, "Stop saying sorry," and like that
Mhm.
is something like my sister would say to me. So it's like that whole like dynamic between like Yara and Theon is very much kind of the dynamic I have with my sister, where it's like
Mhm.
I hate her at times, but like she very clearly loves me. It's like that kind of push pull. So it's like yeah, I have a soft spot for that relationship.
That was another good change they made. They changed her name to Yara from Asha, which is perfect because people would have absolutely been confused with Osha and Asha in the show.
Well, I think like Osha had getting killed off. Oh no, they actually existed at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
just I just mean people still. I think people still would have been confused with the names even still. But
Yeah, what's always funny is because the British acting pool is so small, you always see like the same actors pop up. Like
mhm.
for example, you're talking about Osha. That's Tonks from Harry Potter,
Yeah.
or like when you're watching Harry Potter and when Hermione obliviates her parents,
Mhm.
that mother is Catelyn Stark.
Is it? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, the mother was Catelyn Stark. It's like one shot and she's in there.
Yeah.
But like it's just funny watching these actors just like pop up in and out. Like for example, if you watch
Mhm.
Doctor Who, you'll see a bunch of actors pop in and
Yeah.
out. But, like every British actor's in Doctor Who. Um, like I remember watching this one episode of Matt Smith. It's like, oh, Edmure Tully's here. And I even think his XL was Davos. It's just funny, like watching these actors just pop in
Yeah.
and out of all these shows.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that was the one huge change I would have made was have Davos instead of Arya running through the city because people would absolutely be more concerned for Davos's well being just as viewers
Yeah,
because Davos is so well liked. Like people would be panicked, like, oh my god, he needs to survive this and that. And he's much more personable. Like so, it would make sense for him to try and protect the people around him and everything like that.
yeah. I just feel like the way they had like I get they were trying to set up Daenerys' madness. Like they were trying. They really were trying.
Yeah.
But it really was just failed because
Mhm.
she had like it's like they tried to make it like a snap into madness, but like it was such a slow descent that
Yeah.
like it's just like
That's the thing. Like you said, they do set it up. It is set up throughout the series. I mean, even in the previous, I forget when. I guess it's season 6 or 7. I forget when she like
okay. Here's
burns
here's
the
here's
Tarleys and everything like that. Like it's set up that
here's
she's violent.
here's what I would do. Here's what I would do. Okay, I wouldn't kill Missandei
Mhm.
at that scene. Okay, so Daenerys is taking the city. The bells are ringing, and she's like, "Oh, I got it," and then goes to the Red Keep. There is Cersei at the top of the Red Keep, at the Tower of the Hand or something, with Missandei. Leave, or I will kill her. Blah blah blah, or something like that.
Mm.
And and then like she's like, "Fine, your choice." And then Missandei says to Dracarys, um, like she dies. He wants him to watches her die, and then she snaps. That would make so much more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the way I put it, like it's a bit clunky, but like the foundation is solid.
It is. Yeah. It's so weird. Like I said, a lot of those scenes it just don't make sense. Where it's like, all right, all of the people who are in conflict are here together. You've got like the scorpion turrets aimed at her dragon and her like, and you're not gonna take this chance to kill off your greatest adversary right now. Like,
Yeah, like the scorpions were shown with Euron to be
yeah,
very effective, and you literally had the entire walls lined with them, and Daenerys took care of them so easily. Like, come on.
yeah. It's so frustrating. I know
Yeah,
they people
like
make a people have a fit about the when they go to have that like standoff with Cersei at the wall, like, oh, what happened to all the trees? We've already seen that there's trees and everything. King's Landing. I get that it's bizarre looking. The way it was rationalized in my mind was, yeah, they cut down all the trees to, you know, fortify the city and build the ships and everything like that. Even so, I don't know. There's so many issues with that season.
yeah,
So
and the thing
like
is,
last season.
even if they had cut down all the trees, it wouldn't you know uh like it wouldn't
It's
look
just
like a
barren
desert.
wasteland. It's like it's so bizarre looking. There'd still
Yeah,
be stumps. There'd be something leading up to it. Instead, they're like in the middle of a desert. It just looks bizarre.
yeah.
But I,
Like
eh,
if it were me, I would have like kind of covered in like some mossy grass or even just snow, like just cover it
mm.
like snow or something. Like it's just lazy.
Yeah, they had the Golden Company. What was the point of that? It's just like it's just failed hype. You know, you have them come in.
Especially like knowing like I don't read the books, but I've watched some videos about like the lore.
Mhm.
It's like knowing what the
Got the
Golden Company's
Oliphants.
purpose is in the story, because you got to
Yeah.
remember they totally cut out Aegon's story.
Yeah.
Young Griff, like they totally cut out his story. Um, like he's not even like a part of this, and like the Golden Company is a big part of Young Griff's story. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. They just it's like they had word association. Oh, this is a thing. Golden Company. Let's throw that in there. Dead. Get rid of it. We don't. It ruins our story, but we have to have them in there, just so people can say that we had the Golden Company in there. It,
yeah.
oh man.
And it's like,
I
we're gonna reference the elephants, but we're not gonna actually have them because we can't
mm,
afford them.
yeah, that like when the Battle of Winterfell, they mentioned I think in literally the first episode of the show, they mention, the giant ice spiders and I forget what else. But like the spiders as big as hounds and things like that. It's like, oh yeah, let's see this. Let's see this. Nah, never happens. It's just
Yeah.
it very disappointing. I really wish it would be so interesting to see how it turned out if they'd given it like I don't even know if it needed to be 10 seasons, right? If you just given, seasons 7 and 8 the due diligence they required, maybe it would have
And the
been 10
thing
seasons,
is,
to be fair.
we are seeing what good Game of Thrones can look like under competent showrunners. House
Hmm.
of the Dragon is great. I love House
Yeah.
of the Dragon.
I find it strange that people are complaining about the pacing. when I'm like, you realize it's like 50 pages out of a book. It's like there's not a lot to work with. So of course the pacing's gonna be somewhat quick. You know, I mean, they're fleshing out the characters pretty well considering, you know, they had 2 or 3 time jumps. I forget how many it is at this point. I think it's 3.
Yeah, I think it's really, I really like it. I
Yeah,
really like it. I
yeah,
like,
it's solid.
it's like, yeah, like it's obvious like the show has a bit of a Team Black bias, but
Mm.
still, both of them are really good.
Yeah, I mean, I you're right in that they're biased, but I think the point of that is because it's about the Targaryens to an extent.
Yeah, I mean
But
the show is literally called House of the Dragon.
yeah,
See, if we're talking about spinoffs, like I really want a Robert's Rebellion,
yeah,
like that would be like like 4 really good seasons.
hmm
I'm trying to think where I would probably start. I would probably start. See, the season is the lead up to the tournament at Harrenhal. You know,
hmm
uh, that's season 1, and it ends with them going to the tournament of Harrenhal. Season 2 is the tourney at Harrenhal, like literally just the entire season, because so much happens at the tourney at Harrenhal. It's its own season. Season 3 is the lead up to the war. Because like there are a bunch of things that can happen in between that and the war. Is the lead up to it. Season 4 and 5 really is the war, because like the lot that happens in that war, and I think it needs to be 2 seasons. There's 5 seasons, and that's all really solid television.
yeah, like stuff like that. The Duncan Egg show, which has been yay or nay. I'm not sure if it's actually.
I know they've talked about doing a long. I don't think a long night show would do good because that's a little bit too far removed. Because
Yeah.
like that's like thousands of years. Like an Aegon's Conquest, maybe.
hmm
But yeah, like the thing about House of the Dragon that works is it's still familiar enough. Like, yeah, you're in the same area. Like, oh, this is King's Landing. Oh, look, there's House Stark. There's like House Lannister. Like, there's enough recognizable names that you can still feel comfortable in the world.
hmm
I feel like because like if you're doing a long night, like you won't have the Tyrells because the Gardeners. Like
Yeah.
this is like they're all kings. So like some of the stuff is shuffled around, like House Whore. Like the Tullys aren't around. But like a Robert's Rebellion would be really good. Duncan Egg would be cool.
It got greenlit. I don't know if they're still working on it or if the writer's strike and everything like that has caused it to be
But
like put on hold.
they're gonna end it at Summer Hall. They're gonna end Duncan Egg at Summer Hall, like a tragedy at Summer Hall, and it's gonna like end with the birth of Rhaegar.
Hmm.
Because remember, Rhaegar was born at Summer Hall
Yeah.
when Summer Hall was burning. That like he was born then. He was born amongst salt and smoke. You got the reference.
Yeah.
But it's just if you're doing Duncan Egg, that is where you end the story.
It'll be interesting. Like I said, they have that. Like you said, the conquest, the war. I don't know if they're still doing the Jon Snow show or not.
I think that's a really good idea because people like Jon Snow, and I think the Jon Snow show is kind of your chance to fix a lot of the mistakes.
Fix the entire fuck up that is season 8.
Yeah, like it kind of allows you. Plus, like some time has passed, you can have a time jump, and like you can kind of undo all the damage. And like people people love Kit Harington. They like him as Jon Snow. So it's like, and it's like the reception to a Jon Snow series. People are actually really positive to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting if they actually do. I know they said like, oh yeah, it's definitely happening, but they do this with a lot of stuff to build up hype around it.
Yeah, I mean the thing is they're not going to do 2 Game of Thrones shows at once. They're just not. So House of the Dragon is probably going to be a 3 or 4 season show, maybe 5 seasons. Because that story has a definite end. So like, depending on how much they want to stretch it out. But after that, they're probably going to do another spinoff, which I think the problem with the Robert's Rebellion show is it's too close to
the main
the main story.
Yeah.
So it's like oh why what like like for example, why isn't Charles Dance Tywin? Like, because it's like 15 years prior, you know. um, like because like because you're gonna have a lot of the same characters but different actors. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can have young Ned, whatever.
I don't know who that actor, what the actor's name is. I don't know if he
For
could
Tywin,
actually play
Charles
that.
Dance.
No. Robert Aramayo, the actor for young Ned Stark, he could probably reprise his role as young Ned Stark if they wanted him to.
I mean, possibly, but they're going to cast someone else. They're going to cast more
Oh,
of a,
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and see that's kind of the problem is yeah, sure you have all the characters, but you're going to have to recast every one of them.
Yeah.
And that's the problem you run into. Like, like for example, like young Jamie, like you have the young Jamie, like and the other thing is like, what about Tyrion? Like sure he has nothing to do with like the thing. Like he was probably at Castle Rock, but like they're like where's Tyrion? We know he's alive, so they're gonna have to cast another Tyrion.
Yeah.
At that point, they probably just might as well just like, all right, Peter Dinklage, we're throwing you in there. We're gonna like de-age you because we have no one else to play him. But yeah, it'd be really interesting. But yeah, like kind of be interested to see some of these characters when they're younger. Like Robert Baratheon in his prime is going to be a real big shock to a lot of people.
It'd be interesting to see like all these like famous swordsmen in their primes actually fighting.
Arthur Dane.
Yeah, like
oh yeah, like for example the Robert versus Arthur Dane fight. That is the keystone of the entire series.
We got that. You have like Jaime Lannister, who you see him fight Ned Stark in season 1, and then he fights Brienne, but he's like all exhausted and like starved, and he's never like really at his prime, like having to fight as well as he can, and then he loses his hand. So like at no point do you really see him, at his best.
Like for example, here's the thing about Robert Baratheon. Like if you took the Mountain and transported him to Robert Baratheon in his prime, Robert Baratheon easily beats the Mountain. Easily. Because he may not be as tall as the Mountain, but he's still pretty tall. Also, like, that Warhammer is specifically designed to go against the Mountains, what the Mountain does. And, like, Robert Baratheon, while he's not quick, he's at least, like, he can easily take the Mountain's hits. Like, he easily beats the Mountain.
He just needs to get that armor structure. I guess he wasn't as chubby back then. Never mind.
He wasn't too fat yet. Too fat for his armor.
No.
I gotta say this. Like one thing I did like about season 1, like Sean Bean and the guy who played Robert Baratheon, they really sold you on the fact that they are brothers and that they've known each other for decades. Like they did a really good job selling that with their acting.
Yeah. Oh man, I was trying to Robert Baratheon actor. Mark Addy. I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah. What's weird is like I used to watch the sitcom called Still Standing, and like he was a lead on it, and it was very much a comedy role. So it was really weird watching Game of Thrones. Be like, this is just a guy from Still Standing. I'm used to seeing him in a diaper.
He was in A Knight's Tale as well.
Oh, like that. It's like. Oh, so you got Wash, you got Vision, you got the Joker. Like it's one of those things where it's like, that film is stacked. Yeah, it's just really crazy.
Man, we're actually about an hour and a half in here. I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, I got you talking.
But I had a fun time. I really enjoyed chatting. Where can people go to check out all your stuff?
Well, my main place is Twitter or X, whatever they're deciding to call it this week.
Twitter. No one ever needs to refer to it as X. Don't give in. We're fighting the good fight.
All right. I'm with you, brother.
The links still say twitter.com, so don't give them the satisfaction.
All right. So what you do is you go to twitter.com, and then you search The Phoenix Press, and then you'll look me up there. YouTube, you just search the Phoenix Press. Also, please back my Kickstarter. I currently, as of this recording, I'm in my third day. We are halfway funded, and yeah, so we're looking to get a good comic, and I'm really excited.
Awesome. So yeah, go check out Screecher. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I had a good time. We
Yeah, it was nice.
I say in advance every time before a guest comes on that I just let the conversation flow and we tend to get into the weeds. And it
Yeah,
especially
you
helped
got me
you.
ranting a couple times.
We,
So
we ranted about Wheel of Time. We started talking about Game of Thrones, Batman, and DC and Marvel and everything like that.
yeah, it's
So
always nice. I like the kind of conversations where it's like you start talking about one thing and like an hour later you talk about something completely different. And then you guys like, wait, why are we talking about 18th century serial killers? I was
yeah, it
asking you
happens.
about Tylenol.
That's how it goes.
It does. It's great.
Yeah. You guys can also go check out deadjesterproductions.live. Links are in the description to everything. Go check out his content as well. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it. It was a fun
I
time.
appreciate you having me on.
Really enjoyed chatting. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.